After my rebirth, my younger brother decisively exchanged his fiancée with me. She said, I'll leave a beautiful CEO to you and I'll marry the rich woman Songjai Hiruo. In my previous life, my younger brother married a beautiful CEO, but he didn't expect her to be cold by nature. My younger brother couldn't stand it, so he went out to have affairs with other women, but was imprisoned in the basement by her and eventually tortured to death. After I married Sang Yuo, I often went to high-end occasions, and everyone envied her because of her power. Looking at my brother's extremely proud smile, I gradually raised the corners of my mouth. Compared with the greedy and cruel rich woman Song Hiruo, I prefer the sickly, unloyal, beautiful female CEO. After being drugged and killed by Song Hiruo in my previous life, I was reborn to the night when I exchanged wives with my younger brother. In the familiar room with bright lights, my adoptive parents and younger brother were sitting in front of me. Before I could react, I heard my adoptive mother's anxious voice. Hui Jin, although the Shen family is also a famous family in Beijing, it is still far behind the Song family. Marriage is not a joke. You must choose carefully. The younger brother Liu Huijin opposite was still a little dazed. He raised his head blankly. Shen family? Song family? He scratched his hair as if he suddenly reacted. His eyes turned around and fell directly on me. Mom, you are wrong. I mean to Xu Shenghuo. He is so dull, and my brother has no other hobbies except doing experiments all day. The two of them must be a good match. In his previous life, Liu Huijin fell in love with Shen Yuchu at first sight. No matter how his adoptive parents persuaded him, it was useless. He was determined to marry Sheng Hochu. His adoptive parents have always doted on him, and they agreed without being able to persuade him. As a result, he and Shen Yuchu had just been married for 3 months, and he couldn't stand Shen Yuchu's cold personality and the way she devoted herself to her career. He even went out to flirt with other women and lingered in nightclubs every night. After being discovered by Shenpo Yuchu, he was imprisoned in the basement. The days without alcohol and women made him feel sick. At that time, I was taken to various high-end places by Song Jiayuo. I looked so glorious and was regarded as a thorn in Liu Huijin's eyes. He stubbornly believed that I had taken away his wealth and glory, but it was obviously his own choice. Now looking at the arrogant and complacent smile on his face, I suddenly understood that Liu Huijin had also been reborn. Hearing him say this, my adoptive mother turned to look at me and said, since Huijin wants to marry Hiru, then you should marry the Shen family. She said it in a completely unreasonable tone. I know that the Liu family adopted me and did not treat me as a real son. They just thought that my father died in the flood relief and rescue and was reported in the local news. The Liu family was in a critical period of listing, and adopting me was just a show for others to see. From beginning to end, I was just a pawn raised by the Liu family and a follower used by Liu Huijin for entertainment. In his previous life, Liu Huijin did not get into college and could only go abroad for gilding. My adoptive mother was worried and let me go abroad with him. At that time, I had received the admission letter from the best university in the country, Peking University. For the first time, I wanted to fight for a chance for myself. Mom Huijin is already an adult. He can be independent, and I also have my own life to walk. My adoptive mother was furious and slapped me hard. Did I raise you so big just to let you talk back to me? I have always been the one who was arranged. Afterwards, Liu Huijin still proudly showed off to me. Brother, your life is determined by me. If I go east, you can't go west. He sat on the high platform and stepped on other people's spines unscrupulously for fun. But now, I have a new life. This is my chance. That night, Liu Huijin entered my room quietly. The door lock was broken by him when I was very young, and it has never been repaired. He said that this would make it convenient for him to find me at any time. He stood in front of the desk with a smile on his face, but his eyes were full of malice and hatred. Brother, the golden ticket lady will be left to you. I want to marry a golden circle rich woman. I continued the carving in my hands, and I couldn't be distracted because of the last point. Seeing that I didn't react, he pushed me angrily, and the sharp blade scraped across my finger, and soon blood gushed out. I took the tissue and looked up at him calmly. Then congratulations, brother. You got what you want? He twisted his mouth and smiled maliciously. Brother, if you're locked up in the basement as a monk for the rest of your life, don't blame me. I stood up, lowered my eyes and looked at his stupid look. I smiled. Then I wish you have fun in your sister-in-law's multiplayer game. He raised his hand and swept all the objects on my desk and raised his chin to me provocatively. Watch your mouth. Don't spread rumors when you are jealous. I looked at his back as he walked away, slowly pulled the corners of my mouth and smiled. The next day, the parents of the three parties met for dinner to discuss the engagement. Liu Huijin dressed himself up. Not long after we arrived, the Shen family also followed. Shang Huoshu heard her adoptive parents politely. She had a graceful figure, fair and translucent skin, and a pair of eyes as bright as stars. She was more beautiful than the stars on TV, and she had an elegant temperament that was pure and untainted. No wonder Liu Huijin, who had always been a playboy, fell in love with her at first sight. As soon as Liu Huijin saw Shen Chu, his eyes lit up instantly, and his gaze stuck to her like a dogskin plaster. I interrupted him. Miss Shen, sit here. I walked over and pulled out a chair for her. He smiled and said thank you to me softly. My brother had a cold expression and stared at me, wishing he could poke a hole in me. During the meal, he asked Shen Huo her well-being with a playful smile. I poured a cup of tea for Shen Chu and handed it to her, but my eyes were looking at Liu Huijin. Brother, Miss Shen will be your sister-in-law from now on, so don't be so disrespectful. Hearing the word sister-in-law, my brother and Shen Chu looked up at me at the same time. Needless to say, my brother's expression was like he wanted to eat me up. Shen Chu looked at me with a smile on his face and a flash of surprise in his eyes, as if he didn't expect me to talk to Liu Huijin like this. After the dishes were served, Sangza, Hiruo, hurried over, still with a hangover on her face. I guess she was drunk in a bar again. She is a perfect match for Liu Huijin. My brother looked at Sangzi Hiruo with flattery and disgust. In my previous life, I didn't know until I married Sangzi Hiruo that the powerful Song family chose to marry into our family because Sangzi Hiruo had a chaotic private life and got pregnant, so they were eager to find a seat. People with similar backgrounds would definitely look down on her, and families with a good family background would also look down on her. Only our family, which has a little bit of family background, is a nouveau rich, to put it bluntly. In their eyes, she is just a country bumpkin who only cares about money. Suddenly, I was very curious about what my brother's expression would be when he knew it. My arrogant brother, you didn't cherish your marriage in your previous life, so you will go to hell this time. After finalizing the details of the engagement ceremony, my brother couldn't wait to pull Sangja Hiruo away. They would probably make love in some hotel. Even if they couldn't stand Sangja Hiruo's arrogant attitude, they still couldn't escape the temptation of the flesh. I took Shen Chu to a rooftop cafe that has been very popular recently. Miss Shen, I want to discuss a deal with you. She raised her eyebrows and looked at me with interest. I thought, Mister, you brought me here to talk about feelings, but I didn't expect that Miss Shen, who has always been cold as frost, would also say jokes. I couldn't help laughing. She frowned and looked at me, realizing her gaffe, and cleared her throat. Sorry. I just think Miss Shen is cute like this. She picked up the coffee on the table, lowered her head, and took a sip slowly, revealing the red tip of her ear. Mister, let's talk about the cooperation you mentioned. I remember that in my previous life, there was a project where the other party was very interested in cooperating with the Shen family. The Shen family made preparations for this, but in the end it was intercepted by the Song family. The Shen family suffered heavy losses and almost didn't survive. They don't know the reason, but I do. I heard that you have a project that is progressing well, but there is a senior executive in the other company that has not been dealt with. Mr. Liu is really well informed. I have a way to help Miss Shen get the project smoothly, and I can also kick out that stumbling block. What are the conditions? My laboratory is short of 20 million for a research. Shang Chu tapped his fingers on the table and looked at me calmly. Suddenly, he picked up the coffee on the table and smiled faintly at my lips. Mr. Liu, happy cooperation. The car stopped a little far away, and I walked back side by side with her. The banyan trees beside the road were growing new branches and replacing old leaves. A yellow leaf fluttered and fell in her hair. She was still looking forward, and her long eyelashes fluttered like a butterfly. The sun shone, obliquely spreading a brilliant warm sun on her snow-white skin. I reached out to pick up the fallen leaves in her hair as if I was possessed. She looked up, and her eyes, as bright as glass, seemed to contain a pool of autumn water. My eyes moved around her face, and I couldn't bear to leave. A male voice that couldn't be called pleasant interrupted the ripples between me and her. You chew, I'll take you home. She and I turned around at the same time, and it was Liu Huijin who came out of the hotel, who was ruining the view. Brother, why did you come out so soon? I will take your sister-in-law back, so you don't have to worry about it. As he said, regardless of Liu Huijin's livid face, he supported Shen Yuchu's shoulder and walked to the car before putting it down. Sorry, Miss Xiaoheng. She tiptoed close to my ear, and her warm breath made me feel itchy. Mister, we are going to get engaged soon. How can you fulfill your husband and wife obligations in the future if you are so polite? I suddenly opened my eyes wide, my heart pounded against my chest, and my thoughts were in a mess. This woman is really a monster. I began to doubt whether she is really the boring woman in Liu Huijin's mouth. As soon as I entered the house, a wine bottle was thrown at me. The next second, Liu Huijin's drunken and furious voice came from the stairs. Liu Zaichuan, I gave you face, right? How dare you embarrass me in front of you, Chu? Liquid slid down my cheek, and I raised my hand to wipe it. You should call her sister-in-law. My words seemed to irritate him, and he waved his fist and hit me. Do you think that just because I call you brother, you are really my brother? Remember your identity. You are just an orphan adopted by my family. Only the things I don't want are yours. I pinched his wrist and threw him to the ground. Young master, I won't spoil you this time. What can you do to me? Liu Huijin struggled on the ground like a dying fish. The reason why he chose Songjia was that he was dazzled by the superficial glory and wealth. But in his heart, he always regarded Shen Yuchu as his property and coveted her beauty. He was a typical person who had his eyes on the pot while having his eyes on the bowl. Not to mention that I am Shen Kuo's, even if I'm an insignificant spectator, I will never watch my brother act recklessly again. Liu Zaichuan, let me go. I'll tell my mother. I laughed, coward. The strength in my hand increased a little more. Liu Huijin screamed in pain. After hearing the noise, my adoptive mother came down from upstairs in a hurry and slapped me hard on the back. What are you doing? Let go. Liu Huijin got up from the ground in a mess and walked to his adoptive mother in pain. Mom, my wrist is about to be broken by him. My adoptive mother rubbed his red and swollen wrist nervously, turned her head and glared at me. Liu Zaichuan, apologize to your brother quickly. My adoptive father also came down at this time. What are you arguing about? My adoptive mother said viciously. Look at this ungrateful wolf. He actually dared to hit Huijin. My adoptive father got anxious when he heard it, and without saying a word, he kicked me in the stomach with great force, and I was kicked back to steps in an instant. He pulled my collar and said he would beat me to death. My adoptive parents doted on Liu Huijin and always stood on his side without any reason. Even though I knew that Songzai Iruo treated me like that, I would only mock her. If I had a manly appearance, would those people like me? If you want to be clean, then go and die. Once you die, everything will be clean. She even took advantage of the time when I was unconscious to sell my experimental results. Then, when my brother was caught cheating, my adoptive parents immediately ran to the Shen family to plead for him. Did they ever have any love for me? After living a new life, I realized many things. It's not me who should die, but these beasts who regard human life as ants. I looked at the fat body that was shorter than me with indifferent eyes. If I were you, I would not choose to do such a stupid thing as beating my adopted son during the critical period of joint venture financing. My adoptive father narrowed his eyes slightly, and his gaze fell heavily on me, as if he wanted to see through me. Facing my calm gaze, he slowly lowered his raised fist and said to his adoptive mother and brother with a serious expression, the family is in a critical period recently. Don't make trouble. Let's forget about this. Liu Huijin looked at me with hatred. I hope you can still be so arrogant when you are imprisoned in the dark basement. By then, I will live a life of luxury. Even if you cut out of me, I will never be soft-hearted. After he left arrogantly, I leaned against the entrance cabinet carelessly, opened my phone and looked at the wedding date. There was less than a month left. Master, have you ever thought about what your ending will be? I saw Shen Yuchu again 3 days later. I just came out of the laboratory and saw her wearing a new Chinese ink wash dress, her hair casually tied up, revealing her white neck, standing in front of the honor wall, looking up and looking at something carefully. I followed her line of sight and saw that it was my photo. I don't like taking pictures. This photo was taken by an unknown schoolmate in high school and hung on the confession wall. Miss Shan, why are you here? She turned around, her eyes word arc, and I couldn't see her emotions clearly. Why do I need to report in advance to see my fiancé? As she said that, she raised her chin, pointing to the wound on my forehead. I nodded. I thought back. She smiled and said nothing more. I took her to my office, and while pouring her tea, she took out a file bag from her bag and pushed it in front of me. You are right. The hobby of that executive is really damnable. My hand paused while pouring tea, and I put down the teapot calmly. No one knows better than the abuse how damnable he is. This executive is one of the decision makers of the project. The reason why the Song family was able to intercept the Shen family's project in the previous life was because he frequently showed goodwill to me at the cocktail party, which was seen by Song Ruo, who got me drunk and sent me to his bed. I still remember the turbid smell and the touch of it on my skin. It was disgusting, so disgusting. For this group of beasts in human form, it is not difficult to find young and good-looking boys, but it is difficult to find a plaything with a good family background and who has never been involved in this circle. This will not lower their status, and they can enjoy the pleasure of taming. In the previous life, Song Ruo used drugs to control me in order to consolidate her business empire, pushing me into the abyss again and again. I was tortured, and she was happy in the pile of money. The high-end banquets that were infinitely glorious in my brother's eyes were just the key to open the door to purgatory. Now I am reborn, and Song Jia should go bankrupt. I calmly opened the file bag and looked at the perverted photos inside. Ms. Shenhe, wait a little longer. I will give Song Jia to you too. She raised her eyes and looked at me quietly with mixed emotions in her eyes. Mr. Liu, I think you seem to have changed. I picked up the teacup and took a sip carelessly. Do you believe that I died once? The dark color in her eyes faded, and I could see clearly that there was sadness spreading there. I had a dream. In the dream, I knew about you and rushed to save you, but in the end, I was too late. Fortunately, we have been together from the beginning this time. I reached out and touched her eyebrows. When the soft touch spread from my fingers, I realized what I had done and hastily withdrew my hand. But it was still a step too late. Shen was stunned for a moment, then held my hand in reverse, slowly approached me along the edge of the table, and trapped me in a small space. Fiancé, why are you hiding? Her breath was just within reach of me, and I said in a hoarse voice, Ms. Shenhe, what do you want to do? Before I finished speaking, I was blocked by her sudden kiss. I suddenly opened my eyes and looked at her in disbelief. She rubbed my lips awkwardly for a while, then stepped back a little, grabbed my collar and panted softly. You will marry me sooner or later. Then what's wrong with me exercising my rights as a wife in advance? I looked at her and I couldn't suppress the emotions in my eyes anymore. It's really annoying when a woman takes the initiative. You're right. I raised my hand and touched her hair, then leaned over and kissed her. A faint scent of gardenia came from her, the same smell of the gardenia tree that I gave to a tearful little girl when I was a child. My lips, tongue, and the fingertips against her neck were all burning hot, and my voice was filled with desire. Do you want to go deeper, Fanky? Her face flushed, and she clenched her fingers tightly around the front of my lapel. There was a girl's misty affection in her eyes, which instantly burned all my rationality. At the end of this month, Shen had to discuss business temporarily. I was busy with experiments, but I didn't forget to send her messages whenever I had the chance. She would stop and share with me any new thing she encountered. We are like all young couples, enjoying a simple and sweet love. One afternoon, I wanted to go to the mall to pick out a gift for her. Suddenly, I saw a familiar figure from a distance. It was Sang Zhiruo. Even though she and I were husband and wife in the previous life, I didn't know a lot about her. Now, when she should be busy at the company, she followed a short and fat man into the garden restaurant on the side. My heart tightened suddenly and I took a few steps forward. The moment I entered the door, the man turned his head just right, as if he was hit by an electric current, and I froze in place. Isn't this person Zhu Jun, the senior executive who colluded with Sang Zhiruo in the previous life? I turned on the recording on my phone, followed secretly, hid behind the rockery, and just happened to hear their conversation. Miss Song is willing to share her husband with everyone, so I will definitely let Miss Song get what she wants with this project. Song Zhiruo sneered, her voice gloomy. He's just a man. How can he be as important as the friendship between us, Mr. Sue? Don't you think so? What's more, I want not only this project, but also the Shen family's company. I always thought that the dirty cooperation between Song Zhiruo and him started from that banquet. It turns out that they have been hooking up with each other for a long time. I always thought that the dirty cooperation between Sung Zhiruo and him started from that banquet. It turns out that they have been hooking up with each other for a long time. That dinner was just a trap to flatter me. No wonder Sung Zhiruo in my previous life insisted on taking me there even though she knew I was not sociable. But there is one thing that I have always found strange. Although the Shen family is not bigger than the Song family, its strength should not be underestimated. Shen Huochu has had a talent for business since he was a child. At the age of 20, he studied for an MBA in the most powerful business school and then went home to take over the family company. Why did Shen Huochu lose to Song Zhiruo repeatedly? Why did he suffer heavy losses when a project cooperation failed? There are many questions in my mind. I really want to ask Sheng Chu, but I'm afraid that an early confrontation will put her in danger. After thinking about it, I decided to start with Song Zhiruo to get information. In the early morning, I stepped into the door of the bar. As expected, I found Song Zhiruo dancing happily on the dance floor. Miss Song, long time no see. She whispered in my ear as if flirting. Luz Chuan, you also go to bars? I came here specially to find you. She took me to the box. Unlike the crazy and noisy atmosphere of the dance floor, it was very quiet here. Obviously separated by a wall, but two worlds. Song Zhiruo came over with a glass of wine and asked me if I wanted to drink. I nodded. There was a charming look in her eyes. After taking a sip of wine, she handed the glass to me, leaving a bright lipstick mark. I looked at the glass and raised my eyebrows. I heard that Miss Song is investing in a project recently. He became interested. I always thought you were a person who didn't care about business. I lowered my head and smiled helplessly. You also know that I have never had a status in the Liu family. My adoptive parents are about to reach retirement age. They will definitely hand over the family business to my brother. I always have to consider my future. Shenghu is your fiancée. Why don't you look for her if you want to find a way out? Men care about their reputation. She looked me up and down and finally stopped at my face. She suddenly smiled and a hint of greed flashed in her eyes, but she hid it well. Come here at 8 o'clock tomorrow night. She handed me a note with the address on it. The car stopped at a secluded private restaurant. Passing the winding pavilion corridor, the door of the innermost box was open. When Zhu saw me come in, his eyes never left me. Mr. Liu, I am interested in cooperating with Mr. Song's company. My name is Zhu Zhan. I heard from Mr. Song that you also want to work with us. I enjoyed the strong feeling of nausea, smiled and picked up the wine glass to be polite to him. If Mr. Zhu is willing to give me this opportunity, I will definitely do my best to make things beautiful. Look at Mr. Zhu and Mr. Song, you two have known each other for many years, right? Zhu Zhan filled my glass with wine again. Song and I have known each other for many years. She then looked at me deeply undated. It's a pity that President Song and I met too late. Among so many partners, only President Song knows my preferences best. It took a lot of effort to keep from spitting in his face. Song Zhiruo certainly didn't really want to take me to business, but just wanted to use me to win over Su Jun's heart. In her opinion, I don't understand power politics. I have no ability to fight back, but I have a good appearance. Since I took the initiative to come to her, she just used the name of taking me to do business to trick me into the bed of those beasts. After a few rounds of drinking, Sang Zhiruo said she was going out to answer a phone call. Zhu Jian said casually, Xiao Chuan, you will follow me in the future. I have a lot of resources here. Then he listed to me those brothers of his who were already in high positions and had power from all walks of life. I suddenly understood that the reason why Song's EHIRUO was so flattering to him, in addition to his own status, was also because of the group of special enthusiasts from the upper class behind him. No wonder she could always suppress the Shen family. I tightened my fingers holding the wing glass, and when he got closer and closer, I pretended to go to the bathroom. I walked to the door of the box a little dizzy, opened the door, and a cold wind wrapped in a faint scent of gardenia blew over. The light slanted on the thin figure of the man in front of me, casting a long shadow. I shuddered and woke up. Liu Huijin stood under a pillar nearby with a proud voice in his voice. You see, I said he had a problem. The light in the corridor was a warm yellow, but it was cold when it fell on Shen Huchu's face. And Lu Huijin was still fanning the flames. Yu Chu, I'll take you back now and ask my parents to break off the engagement. In my chaotic thoughts, I caught a threatened saw Song Zhiruo's confident look at the corner. She was going to force me into a dead end. Shen Ochu came over, raised a hint of sarcasm, raised her hand and slapped me hard in the face. Liu's Chuan, we are finished. After saying this, she turned and left. When I chased downstairs, I saw Shen Huchu getting into the cart and Liu Huijin laughed behind me, jumping clown. After that day, Shen Huchu didn't contact me for a long time. The news of the discord with her quickly spread in the circle. But my adoptive parents came to the door this time. Not only were they not angry that I angered the Shen family, but on the contrary, they wanted me to take over the company. Xiao Chuan, Mom is usually strict with you in order to train you. You won't blame Mom, right? How could that be? Mom, I can't thank you enough. The adoptive father coughed twice on the side. We came here today to discuss with you and let you take over the company. I pretended to be worried. What about my younger brother? My adoptive father interrupted me. You don't have to worry about him. You are the older brother. How can you ignore your younger brother? Okay, it's settled. Come to the company next Wednesday and sign the contract. I raised my eyes and smiled. I know, Dad. I will work hard to make the company bigger and stronger, and I won't let you down. Before leaving, my adoptive parents specifically told me to keep this matter confidential. The car quickly disappeared from my sight. I turned around, my smile disappeared, and my expression was indifferent. At the family dinner in the evening, Liu Huijin said proudly, she is pregnant. We plan to move up the wedding. She is afraid that she will be pregnant and will not look good in the wedding dress. Everyone in the family was congratulating him, and he suddenly changed the subject. Brother, haven't you coaxed your Chu yet? Everyone is saying that your marriage will not be successful. Even if she and I can't be successful, it's not your turn to be the son-in-law of the Shen family. Why do you worry about it? He picked up the bowl on the table and threw it at me, but I dodged sideways. He walked over, put his hand on my shoulder, then whispered in my ear sarcastically, people like you who come from the slums are born with a lowly life. Even though you rely on my family to become young Master Liu, you still smell like a poor person. If you were smart, you would take the initiative to cancel the engagement. Only I am worthy of a woman like Shen Yuchu. At this time, he was still daydreaming about eating and sleeping in the east and sleeping in the west. He had no idea what kind of life he would experience next. Even though a lifetime has passed and everything has started over again, the 6 months of marriage with Song Zhiruo still seemed like a nightmare to me. Every day, my hands and feet were tied up, and I was forced to inject overdoses of drugs. My brain was groggy and I had almost no moments of clarity. How long can you endure the pain of dying, Liu Huijin? I looked up and saw the inconspicuous needle holes on his arm and suddenly smiled. I wish you happiness, brother. Perhaps because the memories of my past life were too cruel, the smile on my face made Liu Huijin take a step back. As if he found that his reaction was too embarrassing, he cursed stubbornly. Heavy rain was hitting the glass outside the window, and it was dark without a trace of sunlight. Under the bright light in the room, my adoptive father opposite me put on a fake smile and handed the pen to me. Xiaoqi on, sign it. I don't know what happened, but my eyes were filled with heat. Dad, do you feel guilty about me? The adoptive father's smile froze in an instant, and his frown declared that his patience was about to run out. But he still had to suppress his temper and be kind to me. What are you talking about? Kid, sign it quickly. Seeing his reaction, I breathed a sigh of relief and counted silently in my heart. 3, 2, 1. With a bang, the door was pushed open. The secretary stood at the door looking apologetic. I'm sorry, Mr. Liu, little mister. Liu wants to come in and I can't stop him. The adoptive father waved his hand, and the secretary closed the door and walked out. Lu Huijin ran over angrily and snatched the transfer agreement on the table. Dad, what do you mean? I am your biological son, but you transferred the family property to an adopted bastard behind my back. The adoptive father said anxiously, Son, give me the agreement first. This is not what you think. Wait until your brother finishes signing, and I will go back and explain to you. Liu Huijin held the agreement tightly in his arms, refusing to give in at all. Do you think I'm stupid? After you sign it, what else can I do? Seeing my adoptive father's inexplicable anxiety because of my presence, I stepped out considerately, leaving enough space for the father and son to have a good chat. The moment the elevator door closed, I still laughed. Liu Huijin is such a fool. His adopted parents' company has been in trouble for a long time, and they have been planning to push me out as a scapegoat since early on. The money on the books has long been transferred overseas by them, and what is left is just a shell company with heavy debts. As long as I sign the transfer agreement, all the debts will be mine. Liu Huijin's plan fell through because of this fuss. I'm very curious whether the adoptive parents will let their most beloved son, Liu Huijin, sign. In their eyes, the bond of family affection really doesn't cost much. Walking out of the office building, the rain outside had stopped long ago. A white Mercedes-Benz was parked beside the flower bed. I walked over, opened the door, and got in. Jiang steered the wheel without looking back. The car stopped at her house. She took a bottle of good vintage red wine from the wing cabinet and sat on the terrace of the small garden. You should have told me your plan earlier. I touched my face and said with lingering fear, You reacted pretty quickly. That slap made my cheek hurt. She laughed out loud. You deserve it. How about the thing I asked you to investigate? She took a sip of wine, her eyes cold. Just as you guessed, Song Zhiru and Zhu Jun met at an auction 5 years ago. After that, Song Zhiru has been looking for people for Zhu Jun to play with, including underage boys. Most of them were deceived. Some people also made trouble, but they were suppressed. Those struggles, the helplessness and despair in the night, I understand all of them. You true, justice is sometimes tripped by many things, but it will never kneel to injustice. Only when the shell they weave with power is shattered, those weak flames will gather together and become a prairie fire. Taking advantage of the alcohol, I still ask the doubts in my heart. You chew, have you never doubted me? A gust of wind messed up the fine hair on her forehead. She raised her hand to push her hair back, revealing her smooth and full forehead. With a drunken face, her eyes were clear. Luz Chuan, I have known you for many years before you knew me. How could I not believe you? As the night deepened, she leaned on my shoulder and fell asleep like a kitten, her shallow breathing blowing the loose hair behind my ears. In my life of fighting alone, she gave me unwavering companionship. I put her gently on the bed, covered her with the quilt and was ready to leave, but she kicked the quilt away. I covered her again, but she kicked it away again not long after. I smiled and couldn't help but kiss her forehead. In this way, I stayed by her bed all night and left in a hurry when it was almost dawn. I didn't want to embarrass her when she woke up. Liu Huijin and Song Zhiru's wedding was held a month later, and they got the certificate the day before the wedding. That night, Liu Huijin came out of his adoptive father's study and came to my room to show off. I have signed the transfer agreement, and you can't take a penny. We deliberately waited until Liu Huijin got the certificate before letting him sign. Any debt he inherited would become a joint debt of the couple. This is the best the adoptive parents could do to their most beloved biological son. Lu Huijin was still observing my expression, and I remained calm. Congratulations. Maybe I didn't show the sadness and anger he imagined. He became irritable, snatched the book from my hand and tore it into pieces. Why are you pretending to be so noble? I don't know how painful it is now. Xiao Chu doesn't want you, and you can't get a penny from this family. You are a piece of trash who has accomplished nothing. I'm waiting for you to cry and beg me. I suddenly pinched his neck and pushed him against the wall. Really? Then you'd better keep the wedding gift tomorrow. On the wedding day, the MC was introducing their love process. Next, please enjoy the VCR. What was playing on the screen was not the love scenes they had filmed, but recordings and videos. Under the live broadcast of the entire network, the dirty deal had nowhere to hide. When Lu Huijin saw himself tied to the bed for entertainment on the screen, he rushed to Song Zhiruo and kicked her off the stage. Song Zhiruo rolled off the stage, holding her stomach and screaming. The incident of Song Zhiruo's romantic transaction instantly became a hot search. All of a sudden, many people who had been forced by her came forward to report her by real name. The people behind her and Sujun were all caught in one fell swoop. The adoptive parents were taken away by the police before they could finish watching the fun. Lu Huijin gradually realized what the price of the transfer agreement he signed was. He sat on the ground in despair. I asked him with a smile, on your happy day, are you born not to like smiling? He was trembling all over and wanted to stand up and hit me, but his legs were too weak to stand up. They didn't expect to fall into the hands of a parasite like me, who can only survive by clinging to the host. I should burn out the last bit of my usefulness and then die silently. It is precisely because I have been ignored that I can give them a fatal blow when they let their guard down. The Liu family and the Song family work rushed overnight, and the Shen family became the biggest winner. Shen Chu was busy working around the clock, and my experimental project was also progressing smoothly. Signed, big order. It was 3 months later that we met again. The car stopped at my high school, and she took my hand and walked into the school. The security uncle at the gate stopped us, and she calmly took off her mask. Uncle Wang, it's me, Xiao Chu. Xiao Chu? The uncle looked at Shen Chu's face carefully, trying to recall. It's you. You are so old now. I remember you. You squatted in the bushes and cried because the boy you liked went abroad. Shen quickly changed the subject. What are you talking about, Uncle Wang? My boyfriend is still here. I'll take him in for a walk and come out soon. The uncle happily let us in. Which class are you from? To classes younger than you. It turned out to be a junior high school girl. Xiao Huashen talked and stared at my face seriously. You really have no impression at all. I shook my head blankly. She sighed and asked me, why did you go abroad that year? Then she said, the photo on the honor wall of your laboratory was taken by me. She didn't have a beginning or an end, but I vaguely understood something. Then she took me to the bookstore on the back street of the school. I loved reading and doing homework there when I was in high school. Her voice was very soft and gentle before. There was a girl who wanted to buy a book, but the last one was bought by a boy. The boy saw that the girl wanted it, so he gave it to the girl. Later, the girl often went to the bookstore and saw that the boy always sat in the corner reading quietly. The girl sat at the table next to him day after day. After the boy went abroad, the girl sat in his usual seat, thinking about him. This is a very cliché story, and a warmth flowed through my body. I hugged her tightly in my arms. Chu, it's my fault for being too slow and so many years late. From now on, it's my turn to watch you. There was a smell of old ink in the bookstore, as if it had drifted from a long time ago. The sun was shining outside the window, and the cherry blossoms were in full bloom. It was spring when all things come back to life.